Hey guys, nothing will wreck a day on the water quicker than your trolling motor breaking a steering cable. So happened to me this morning about 4 casts into it, and fortunately here in West Michigan we have some local people that work on them, so I was able to pick up a steering cable here. So we're going after it in the shop. The way I see it, it only looks like we're going to need a Phillips screwdriver and maybe a pliers, some electrical tape. I'm hoping to get away without a fish tape or a utility knife. But anyway, just like, say, firearms handling, make sure it's not loaded. We're going to pull the plug and make sure it's not loaded before we get started. So that being said, this will be a, I have not replaced this yet. We're just going to go after it and see what happens. So let's get rolling. This is the bottom of the foot control. After we've removed the screws that hold it to the boat, and we've removed the screws that are holding the plate to the actual foot control. So we got to pull that off, and underneath here is all your goodies. You'll see here where the steering cable comes across, wraps around this pulley, and goes back out. And now we're going to take a look at the head. This head has 4 screws in it. 2 here, 2 around the back. Once we take those out, they're Phillips screws. Once we take those out, we can remove the top cover. And you'll notice that there's a shredded cable right here. And the other cable is intact. So what we're going to have to do is pull that cable out through this makeshift conduit and replace it. I am assuming that this will be the worst part, actually feeding that through there. We'll hope to get that out in a decent shape. Per the instructions, says we're to take these 2 screws loose that take the foot pedal boot out and slide that boot back. I don't know what that does for me, but it's loose. And then it says to loosen the cable adjusting screw to relieve the tension. Let's take a look at that. This would be the tension adjustment screw. Not really sure how far I need to loosen that. The cable's broken already. Just did about 6-7 turns, partial turns, and we will more than likely, if we need to loosen it again, I'm assuming that will show up in the end when we're trying to stretch a new cable on. Next it says to remove the screws from the pulley cover, and then once we're done with that, to actually lift the pulley off the shaft. Next on the agenda is to remove the barrel end of each cable core from the cable slots in the foot pedal and from the pulley. In this case, we're dealing with, let's see if I can do this. We are dealing with this one right here. Okay, very simply, that's a needle nose pliers. We're pinching the clamps. You'll see there's a barb like on a hook. Pinch that and just wiggle it out, and it'll slide back through. Slides back through the bracket that it's in. Alright, there's one in the head as well. So I assume if we were doing this whole thing, and it might be easier in the end to take this bracket off, but it almost looks like I can just pinch those. There's no cable. Normally there'd be a cable coming out of here. It broke off and it's retracted somewhere in the casing right now. So it might be just as easy for me to just pinch these and push, but I'm not sure. Okay, so there's the one we're dealing with. At this point, the instructions sound so easy. They say just pull the cable assembly through the cable jacket from the motor control box end and push the new assembly through the cable jacket. Yeah, okay, here we go. So at this point, both ends of the new cable appear to be the same clip. Basically pokes through the bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the cable out of the old housing, the one that's broken off, because it's already inside the other housing anyway. I'm going to tie these together as fashionably as I can, make it as small of a knuckle as I can, so that hopefully I can use the old one like a fish tape. And hopefully that will make life a little bit easier for what looks like it's going to be a pretty crappy task. So first thing I guess I'll do is pull that out of there. And we may pay for it later, let's see. There's my brake. Ta-da! I like to put a little fold over because maybe if I'm lucky it will help me to take that off easier in the end. Alright, so now in theory we should be able to feed this through. And I can only show you one end at a time. Oh. Yep, it's gonna suck. Can you wonder how they did this in the first place? They sure don't give you any extra room. Okay, so I found that I stretched it straight. I moved the actual cable to where the housing here is as straight as possible. So I had to move the plug and pull the transducer wire out a little bit. And I have, this is called the boot. It's the thing we took the 2 screws out of earlier. I slid that back to where it gave up the sleeve, so there's a little gap in between the boot and the sleeve. And now I am able to get that cable started into there. It was binding because the boot is a very firm piece of plastic. There's not enough extra room in there to get that through, so it had to be slid back towards the foot pedal. Now I'm going to see if I can move that cable a little bit better. And yep, it's coming real slow, but it's coming. That's a little easier now. Got it past the twisties. Now we got to get into the other end, and that's going to be another chore, I think. Again, we have the boot part right here that is going to restrict right here what can come through it. So I'm going to pop that out, and if I can pull my, this will give me just a little bit more room to get through there. And there we are. You see my knuckle where I've taped it off. So I'm going to untape that, and then we can position it. Get started on putting her back together. So now we got to push that cable assembly back through the mount. And you guys in the tech department are probably going, oh no, it clicked right in. I thought you guys in the tech department are going, you should have removed the metal piece. Well, no, it clicked right in, we're good. And now I'm going to pull this, and I can see by looking, the old one, the other one that did not break is set up at the top. And I'm assuming that since we've done what the instructions say to straighten the motor so that it's pointing straight ahead off the bow of the boat. So I've done that, and the hookup hookup is here on the back of the motor, and since it's at 50% right now, I mean right in the middle of where I'd want it to go, I'm assuming that I'm gonna have to go around this. There's a clear path where it looks like it's supposed to go. Hold on, first let's get the old junk out of there. There's the old piece. Looks just like the other end. Alright, so the existing wire is in there, still hooked in, and I'm gonna tighten that up so I can go underneath it, because that one's in the top loop. It also is halfway around, so I'm gonna guess my assumption is correct that this one has to wrap around as well. But in the bottom track, you'll notice that there's tracks cut into this pulley specifically for each wire. My question is how that baby comes in there. So it looks like it snaps in from the bottom, from the opening on the bottom. Yep, it does. Slides right in from the opening on the bottom, and then you just turn it to pull it tight. Sounds so easy, doesn't it, till you put your hands on it? Okay, so that's what the head looks like. And I'm going to have to come back here a couple times, I think, to fiddle with that. I think I'm going to put a little piece of tape around these so they don't come apart. And that way I know my tension. Oh no, they're good. There's these three little plastic pins that I suppose hold it from spreading too wide. So I think we're good in the head. We can go back and work on the foot pedal. I'm going to move the boot assembly back into place on that stuff. It's going to have to flip over, and I'm going to have to slip the cable through here. And we'll click that in click that into the bracket if I get a chance. Might want a straight slot for this. And there it goes. Clicked in. So now I'm going to fasten the boot back down to the base plate. Alright, not sure how well this is going to show up here, but I'm going to reattach the first cable, the one that did not break but popped loose. I'm not kidding you, it's like 1/8 of a shaft away. There it goes. Okay. Nice and snug. Okay, now we will replace, I just went and checked the head, it looks good. Now we'll replace the pulley keeper and a couple screws that were in there. Still turns good. Now we'll make sure that all our wires are in the proper place where they go through. We can't have anything hitting when we put this cover plate back on. So we'll throw that baby together. Looks good. Now the last thing to do, of course, is to make sure that all our wiring is out of the way. And so when we lay our cap back on there, we're not going to pinch anything. And make sure your boot's back in the proper groove here. Once it is, the last thing to do is make sure that your arrow is pointing the direction that the boat is going. So dial that baby in, it just sits there and turns until it faces the way that the motor is down on the bottom there. Get her back together and you're on the water. Except I put the boot in the wrong spot. There we go. 4 screws and you're good to go. Thanks for watching.